Is the camera ready?
Yeah, it's recording.
I still don't know about this.
If we don't make it back, someone should know what happened.
I guess you're right. Okay, first of all, one of my main goals in life, well, two, actually, to love my family and to find ways to be creative. I never thought I was asking too much.
You're not. And we appreciate it, Dave.
Thank you, Laura.
Get to the part about rewritten history. The confession. And what did you call it?
Freedom and isolation. And you pretty much mentioned the other two.
You're the writer. I just listen. You should be happy. I paid attention.
Maybe it was selfish of me. But in the end, I couldn't change the outcome.
Talk about the personal paradise.
Well, I was offered the best of both worlds, and I took it.
And how did you do it?
Time travel. It changed things. Could you shut that off, Laura? I need to think a little more.
Take all the time you need. I should get supper going. Are you okay with leftovers? We have the...
Welcome to Slipping Past the Garden Gate. I'm story creator Glenn Hascall. Now, this adventure is an allegory, which simply means that while this is a story of science fiction, it actually has a secondary meaning. Perhaps you will see the parallels and link a second message to what you hear. But if not, I'll return at the end of the show to provide a key to this secondary meaning. It may seem like a riddle in the form of a story, but it may also help you remember the actual meaning much better to remember this cast and the story they share. Let's return now to Dave and Laura's kitchen.
I know. It's been crazy, right, Dave?
Do you think anyone will ever believe time travel is possible?
Well, as a household expert in sci-fi movies, what do you think?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I mean, I've never believed in time machines exactly.
I've seen that look before. What's going on?
I've just been thinking about when I discovered ley lines.
What?
Ley lines.
And those would be?
Well, the idea is that there are unusual energy fields created between historic structures. The energy flows between these historic places, even if those places no longer exist.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Some believe this energy can open a pathway to the past, if someone comes in contact with them at the right time.
So that's how you just walked into the past?
Exactly.
So it's like a cosmic transporter beam.
Or a fax machine.
Do you have any idea how crazy that sounds?
But it did happen, right? Remember, history played out in front of our eyes.
No guesswork, no reenactments.
Nothing forgotten.
I better go check on supper. Can you tell Michael it's just about ready? Never mind, I'll do it. Food's ready, son.
Coming, Mom.
And we're back. Whenever you're ready, Dave.
Okay. It all started with a lot of thinking and more research. But in the days to come, there would be maps.
Covering the kitchen table, markers used to draw lines, stacks of failed ideas on the floor, where you missed the trash can.
That's when I discovered a specific point. It seemed far-fetched. Most believed the only true ley lines were in Europe and usually involved mounds and something called the time between times. This was a moment between light and darkness, and it was said that this moment was the time when crossing to a different time would be most possible.
And I thought you were just working on a writing project.
I was, sort of. I was a man possessed by a possibility. I lost sleep thinking about it. Woke early to piece together fragments of potential, and then I found a spot on the map that had historic significance before our city was built over it. That's when I considered the possibility that...
Nobody needs every detail, Dave. What happened next?
I took a walk.
The old part of the city?
That's right. And all I saw was trash dumpsters, backyard gates, and the occasional alley cat.
What exactly were you looking for?
A hidden door to the past. I kind of thought I was out of my mind.
Looks can apparently be deceiving.
I went back each evening for 2 weeks, learning new ways to avoid startling the neighborhood dogs.
Now we're at the good part.
One night, I swung my arm forward and it seemed to disappear. When it was on its way back to my side, my arm reappeared. Was this the time between times? Was this a ley line? Was my future in the past?
This is the good part. Come on, Dave, don't get sidetracked now.
Yeah, got it. Focus. Well, I stood beside an arched garden gate with vines covering a trellis. It looked like something my great-grandmother once had out behind her garden, just in bad shape and missing paint. Beyond the gate was the backyard of an abandoned house. The yard was overrun with weeds. I doubted anyone had set foot on this piece of land in years. I walked toward the gate, and a feeling of electricity flowed through me. I thought it should hurt, but it didn't. I saw what I can only describe as light surrounding me. All went dark. Then I found myself in brilliant sunshine and the bluest sky I'd ever seen. I slipped past the garden gate. I hadn't opened it, but a way had been opened to me, and I took it. Now, the other side of the gate was new and beautiful, but somehow the same.
If I don't miss my guess, you aren't from around here. The name's Corey Sutton. You look a mite peaked. Come on up to the house and let me get you some lemonade and shortbread. It'll cure what ails ya.
Corey Sutton?
You heard right. 'Tis my name. And yours?
Dave Chrisman.
Pleasure to meet you, young man. Pleasure indeed. What brings you to my backyard?
I'm, not exactly sure.
You seem confused, Mr. Chrisman. Please, come sit a spell. I might even say you're a bit discombobulated. I do enjoy saying that word.
I think I might feel something like that.
Like scrambled eggs on an over-easy morning.
Perfect description.
Well, we've all been there. I'm pretty certain I was there yesterday.
Where exactly am I?
My backyard.
But where?
115 Maple.
But what city?
Oh, well, Bear Creek.
And what year is it?
The year?
I'm not certain of much right now, Corey.
Well, I'll play along. 1963.
1963?
I do declare there's a minor bird around here. Drink up, young man, and calm down a mite.
And that was your first trip through time?
It was. I was introduced to a more simplified life. People took the time to get to know other people, and in between random bits of gossip, they provided the help a neighbor needed, and they listened to each other.
How long were you there?
I must have spent weeks with the people of Bear Creek, and I learned who might be considered bad company and why the barber shop was the best place to get news. And I found a home that would be perfect for us.
So you're really thinking about moving here, Mr. Chrisman?
Please, call me Dave. And yes, I am. You know, Corey, you remind me of my grandmother.
Must have been a very good woman. You've come a long way since our very unusual meeting in the backyard.
Well, thanks. Corey, would you mind if I enjoyed the view from your backyard until sunset?
Well, if it suits ya. The most I usually see is the vegetables growing in the garden and Dale Pryor's cat, who seems certain she's the rightful owner of my property. Let me make some sandwiches.
Before Corey could return, I walked into the garden gate, waited for the buzzing sound, and I made the unusual trip home.
Welcome home, Dave.
How did you know it was me?
Who else would be coming indoors at this time each day?
But I... Wait, when did you last see me?
What? Are you okay?
When?
When what?
When did you last see me?
This morning. Why?
That's impossible. I've been gone for weeks.
Am I missing a punchline?
Laura, it's real.
Okay, you're kind of freaking me out, Dave. Is this the outline for your new story?
Grab Michael and come on a walk with me.
Okay, sure. Michael!
Yes, Mom.
Come down. Looks like we're going for a walk with Dad.
That was a very confusing walk.
I guess I let my excitement get away from me. I had spent weeks in Bear Creek in 1963, but not even a full day had passed in the present. I should have remembered that the window in this time between times is very short.
Yeah, and the sun had already set.
I must have seemed like a fool standing in an alley, trying to prove I could visit the past.
It's tough to believe what you can't see, Dave.
It was crazy. Dogs barked, lights came on, and the one neighbor yelled out.
Hey, quiet down!
Dave, honey, can we just go home?
But I mean, if only, it's probably for the best.
This is the most fun I've had in a long time.
All right, whoever's laughing out there, quiet down!
This is embarrassing.
Whoever's whispering, quiet down!
They've got good ears.
Whoever said I have good ears,
Yeah, we know. Quiet down.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say thanks. But I like your idea. Quiet down!
And that's when you went into full-on writing mode.
Well, I wanted you to witness the wonder of time travel and discover the beauty of a simplified life. And I didn't want to forget anything.
Examples.
Well, if we were to move to 1963, there would need to be changes. We would have to purchase vintage clothing, and I would need to convert all our currency to cash predating 1963. We would need to sell our house and cars.
And these changes seemed sane to you?
If we were careful, we could revisit the present anytime we wanted, within the time between times. We could still have visits with parents and grandparents, and I even found a way to work in the present while living in the past.
Then you drug us back to the garden gate.
This time you heard the buzz and watched my arm disappear into the past.
Then we held hands and walked through together.
Welcome to Corey's back porch.
Well, I didn't know your family was so close by, Dave. I still have the fixins for sandwiches on the counter. I'll just make a few more. Here's a pitcher of lemonade and a few glasses. Make yourselves at home.
Dave, what's going on?
Welcome to 1963.
If you folks need a place to stay, I've got a couple of spare rooms all made up. Oh, and Michael, there's a sand lot next block over.
Can I go, Dad?
Go ahead. I'll come get you in a while.
Thanks, Dad. Could you bring me a sandwich? Quick question. What's a sandlot?
Just look for the boys. You'll figure it out.
Corey, we'd be happy to go to a motel.
No, you won't. I won't hear of it. Nary a peep.
Well, to say there was a lot to talk about.
Would be an understatement.
We stayed a few days, and Michael found a close friend in Carl Pryor. I showed you the house I had in mind.
You know, it was just too soon, Dave. I wasn't thinking of moving, and certainly not to 1963. Who does that?
I was offered the job of editor at the Bear Creek Gazette, and many businesses offered you a job if you wanted one.
How kind.
Once the idea had time to marinate in your soul...
I reluctantly, and with significant disbelief...
agreed to follow me in this rear-facing dream.
I must really love this guy.
She means me. Bear Creek seems safer. The people friendlier.
And if I really wanted a caramel macchiato, I could walk into the future and have one.
The only holdout to this being a near-utopian dream was an old man named Dale Pryor. He didn't get along with anyone.
You ain't kidding.
Living in Bear Creek was an idea that was growing on us. We moved into our new home, and all the neighbors came to help us get settled. I would return to the present and then back to Bear Creek with a laptop, printer, and cell phone. Sure, there was no internet connection, but I could still use my computer to type my stories and a printer to print them off. This printed page always impressed the staff at the Gazette. They were unable to understand how I could get a typewriter to make the copies so clean.
Oh, tell them about the cell phone trick.
Oh, okay, right. Well, my cell phone actually worked to detect when the time between times was happening.
How? You know, exactly.
When the portal opened, any text messages from the present came through. If I needed to return to the future, incoming texts to my phone helped me know when would be the right time.
And when you could return back here from the other side.
Yeah, I didn't actually need the neighbor telling me to
Quiet down!
Hey, and Michael makes it to first. He's safe.
Thanks, Dad! Not many dads come to the sandlot, Michael. I'm kinda glad he does, Carl. It's nice, don't you think? Can I pretend he's my dad, too? I don't think he'd mind.
I had been called into the present to work on a freelance article for a client. Since time didn't seem to pass when I switched between times, I knew I wouldn't be late for work at the Gazette, and my family wouldn't miss me.
Hey, we would have, but we didn't even know you were gone.
I rented an office on a side street with no specific markings. I was just there to write. I didn't expect a visitor. I had just been paid for the work and went to the bank to see if I'd be fortunate enough to get any old money. I rarely did, so I'd go to a local shop where coin and money collectors could see what was available. I would buy the old bills I could afford.
Let me guess. They just considered you an avid collector.
Yeah, they did. It was at this shop that I noticed a man staring at me.
Openly.
Yeah, just staring. He seemed...
Astonished.
Yeah, and when I caught his gaze...
He looked away.
You've heard this before.
See? I pay attention.
I won't pretend to know all the laws of time travel, but there were repercussions of this movement between times. It never even occurred to me that because I had been seen in the past in a very small town, that someone from that time would recognize me in the present in a different town in a very specialized shop. To be honest, it was getting harder to separate the past and the present. They were both becoming a part of who I am. The unexpected visit brought me back from this blurry line.
I'm sorry. This isn't a public office.
Excuse me. I saw you earlier, and I know I've seen you before. Please, give me a moment. I'd like to explain. I mean you no harm.
I
know you. I'm certain of it. The first time I met you was in 1963. You impressed me then, but you don't seem to have aged a bit. I must be wrong, but you are Dave Chrisman, right? Your son is Michael? Oh, Michael was my best friend back then.
What? Carl Pryor?
You are Dave Chrisman.
But I just saw you yesterday. You were playing baseball with Michael.
I was what?
Wow. Okay, please, have a seat.
I don't know how all this time has passed and you've not aged one bit. It's not possible.
Would you believe time travel?
That would explain a lot. Hard to believe, but I do recall seeing a computer in your home in 1963. Of course, I had no idea what a computer was. It only now occurs to me that it was something you brought from here.
I tried to keep it hidden.
Oh, you must have. Michael showed it to me. I thought it was a very small suitcase with a missing handle.
It's actually a bit of a relief to be able to talk to someone who has been in both times.
I've only been in one time, Mr. Chrisman. Are you serious about time travel? I haven't been the one traveling, but if this is real, I'd like to.
What do you mean, Carl?
You may recall that my grandfather was Dale Pryor.
Yes, Dale, he,
Was not a nice man.
I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, but it's true. He was cruel to my father and cruel to me. My father died in a car accident when I was 5, and my grandfather died a bitter man in late 1963.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Carl.
I was bounced from one foster home to another and eventually spent the rest of my childhood in an orphanage.
If there's anything I can do for you...
Take me back to Bear Creek.
Bear Creek? That's not possible.
Look, I never married. I have no children. I have no brothers or sisters. If you can really go back to Bear Creek in 1963, then I'd have the chance to raise...
Yourself?
I think I could teach my younger self a lot. And the younger me wouldn't have to spend time apart from someone who cared more for him than anyone ever had.
Wow, I'm not sure this is...
Of course, I would establish myself in the community and take the boy into my home when our grandfather passes away.
I have to admit, this is hard to wrap my mind around.
And time travel is no picnic of the mind for me either.
I suppose not.
Oh, it might also allow me to spend time with my grandfather as one of similar age. Perhaps it would bring some closure I've always wished I had.
I barely considered what it would really mean to move to the past. And it seemed a bit foolish now that I was looking to take this older man back in time to care for himself.
Are you even listening to what you're saying, Dave? You know, out loud?
I know, it sounds impossible, but you know it happened, Laura.
I know it did. But you aren't trying to convince me.
Was this trespassing on the stages of time? There was no one to ask advice, just ideas that men who had never actually moved in time believed could be true.
And that's called fiction, right?
Yes. But if I had discovered how to pass between these two times, perhaps it was possible other people had done the same. Perhaps those who seem socially awkward might just be looking through a visited time with the curiosity of someone who has no idea how to respond to customs they have never encountered. And maybe the visionaries we discover are guests from a future time who simply know a little more than we do. And we each work to keep this garden gate secret. We are guardians of a trust and the centuries of time. We're not perfect, and so far there's no owner's manual for this time detour. But we'll do our best to keep the garden gate a private excursion. And when we meet someone like Carl, we're left to wonder how much we really, truly know about all the incredible mysteries of life.
It's so much fun to watch these boys play.
And so many are missing it.
I can't tell you what it means to see myself playing baseball. Oh, it's been such a long time.
You're pretty good.
Well, there would be many things I'd be interested in before I made a final choice on what to do with my life. Maybe it'll be different from my younger self.
Hey, mister, can you throw me the ball?
Oh, sure thing, young man.
Thanks, mister.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, when will you, introduce yourself to him?
Soon.
How will you introduce yourself?
Well, my middle name is Paul, so I'll use that. You know, I can't thank you enough for bringing me home again. I have become an acquaintance of our grandfather Dale, and when the time comes, I will be more than willing to be the best example that I can be to the boy.
Did you see that, Dad?
I sure did, Michael. I sure did.
And in this blending of past and present, we watched the world change. For us, and for two guys named Carl. None of this was what we planned, and no one conceived that it was even possible. But somehow, in ways only we could understand, this was our adventure, and the journey was unexpected and inviting. We would do it again.
Dave?
And perhaps we will.
Can you hear me, Dave?
Perhaps we will. We will, perhaps.
Please, honey.
We will.
Just past the garden gate. One more time. Please come back. Dave? Please come back.
Hello, this is Glenn Hascall, the creator of the Allegory Slipping Past the Garden Gate. This story started as an unpublished novel nearly 2 decades ago. The idea was enhanced and altered when my father-in-law was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I watched him slip through the garden gate on a trip to live in the past. Sometimes he returned for a short visit in the present. Then he might take someone back with him for a visit. I could no more make light of this issue than I could create the exact world someone like my wife's father lived through. But this was my attempt. You may observe a friend or loved one experiencing dementia in the present, but you've probably learned that they may prefer to spend more and more of their existence in a simpler time with people in their minds that are perhaps as present and real as any you imagine. This audio drama is lovingly dedicated to the memory of my father-in-law, Lloyd, and all who take similar trips. Thank you, Lloyd, for taking me on unexpected trips to places most real to you. Perhaps I'll see you again just beyond the garden gate. I am honored by the talent that helped bring this story to life. Let me tell you about them. Dave Chrisman, played by Jonathan Cooke. Laura Chrisman was performed by Alicia Hansen. Michael Chrisman by Rigby Dehnart. Young Carl Pryor, Elliott Fisher. Adult Carl Pryor, Joe Stofko. Corey, Trisha Rose. Neighbor, Frank Ulle. This production was written, produced, mixed, and sound designed by Glenn Hascall. It was made available to you for both enjoyment and contemplation. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.
Remember me, I gave you my life. I wanna know you better, and I really wanna try to do my part and start over new. Now is there any way to take a moment to, oh, I know that you will take a moment to remember me.
Remember Me, written and performed by Lyndsay Jackson, and used with permission.